Hey everyone, welcome back to Carrots and Olives. Today I'm going to be doing a currently inked video, and I'm going to attempt to go through all the pens in both of these cases. I think I said this last time, but I didn't actually go through all the pens. I realized afterwards. So I'm going to try to do that today. And just so you know, I wanted to try to get as much natural lighting, so I'm in a different room, and you could see I'm blocking the light because otherwise it would be really harsh shadows. But these are my two undyed containers or pouches, and they are from two different makers. So this one is from Galen Leather. This is the Honey Ochre, and this one is from Superior Labor and Baumkuchen collaboration. You buy this one from Baumkuchen, and they almost look the same. Almost. This one is definitely getting a lot of patina. And then this one is definitely getting a lot of character with all the scratches and all the scuffs and everything like that. So I thought I'd just share how these two look together at this point in time. And also, this is my traveler's notebook. This is my notebook that I did get the BK service done to it, and I got the leather accessories added to it, so this pouch was added and stitched on. And this is undyed Superior Labor leather, which I want to say is the exact same as this one, and so I've had this longer than I've had this one, and so this color is definitely going to be getting as dark as this, and then even more darker. Okay, so let's stop chatting about all the other things and let's get started. So this morning I've actually been making sure to get all my pens prepped and see where my ink levels are, and then even revisit some of the inks or some of my fountain pens that I kind of just stuffed away. I don't know if any of you guys do this, but I am at a point where I do have a pretty good collection. So some of my pens will be put away before they're cleaned. And mainly in that new container that I have, I will put it in there and then I'll clean them a little bit later. So I was going through all of those pens, and it wasn't that many, but there were a few that surprised me. I didn't realize that they were still had ink in them. So definitely not the best strategy in making sure your pens get clean, but just letting you know, I'm not perfect, and I'm pretty sure many of you are not perfect. But I do my best, and this morning was a cleaning morning where I was cleaning my pens and kind of seeing where the ink levels were, and then if some of them had a good amount of ink level, I would include them in this video and then clean them out so that you could at least see what I did have in them. And plus, I really like watching these videos anyway, so the longer the merrier for me, and hopefully that's the same for you. So I forgot my date stamp, but that's okay. I'm just going to date it with my pen. So this one is the Sailor Shikiyori 4 Seasons, and I did find a English translation of it being Snow, Moon, Sky, and it is in an extra fine point. So correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe that translation's incorrect, but that's what I found. So I'm gonna draw a little box and attempt to color this in. So this pen is an extra fine, and it's a Eastern nib. So that means it's super fine. It's definitely going to take me a second to fill in this little square. The reason I got this pen out was because in the middle of the week, I was in search of a super fine tip pen that I could just put black ink in. And the ink is actually Aurora Black. And I found that I actually have a cartridge in here because, again, I was looking for a pen that would be super quick and I can just pop in a cartridge and be on my way. But I noticed this, and not just this one time, I've noticed this multiple times, is that the cartridges, even the Sailor cartridges, oh boy, I was not in frame, sorry. The Sailor cartridges are not as flowy, which is just surprising because they're meant for sailors, right? I mean, it's the same brand, but this is just the black ink and it's always clogging my pens. They just don't flow right. So that is really frustrating. And I ended up just replacing the ink inside the cartridge with Aurora Black to see how it would flow, and it's flowing just fine. I did not spell that right. Here 4 seasons, and they call it Snow Moon. So I've been using this in my Hobonichi weeks. And I just wanted a simple like black ink pen with fine lines so that I don't worry, I can write as much in the small space. And this is a Pro Gear Slim. Let's put that over here. Model. This purple is, this black has a cooler tone to me, and those are the kind of blacks I like. So it doesn't feel like it's a brown black. And this one is just really comfortable. You know, I love my sailors, so it's definitely been very helpful for quick notes, and it has that thin line, which is just ideal for me. Okay, let's move on. And I'll get you in frame this time. So the next one is, well, let me talk about these. We have 3 sailors. So we have this sailor, and then I'm going to do this sailor, and I have this sailor, right? So I have actually a lot more. I have a lot other sailors outside of what you're seeing now. But the nice thing about having multiple sailors of the same model is that you can interchange them. So you can kind of tell this sailor did not come like this. I actually changed out the grip section and the nib to this pen because the initial one that was on here was drying out really quickly. And I don't know if it was just because this is the mini and maybe it just air will get in somehow. I don't know what was going on, but I do find that this pen and nib, or the body and then the nib, are a perfect match, although they don't look aesthetically perfect because it has a blue grip section. But it flows really well and it starts right up every time, even when I haven't had it inked or haven't been using it for a while. So this is the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. And this was like a special edition. Most of the sailors will say sailor on this part of the pen, but this one says memo. So I got this from Pen Chalet when the first edition of these came out. And I'll just put special edition. And the ink I'm using is Iro Shizuku Fuyu Gaki. And this is actually a fine, so you can kind of see a difference between the two. It's slightly thicker, but this ink flows really well. So this orange is so pretty. I never imagined myself really liking this orange, but this is what it looks like in a truly fine nib. And it's definitely what I like. So what I was mentioning earlier is that this pen was switched with the nib, and we all know the history behind this one. If you don't, I have a video on it. I did the unboxing and I shared my thoughts. But what I've done, and don't get upset with me, is I changed out the grip section and the nib because I love the body and I wanted to use this for like daily writing. But I was wrong in my last video when I mentioned that I could use this pen and the original nib that it came with, which is a music nib, for daily writing. It's definitely not true in my case, at least not right now. As you may have kind of noticed, I am in this phase of like thin fountain pen nibs right now. That's what I've been gravitating towards. So this is the Yoseka and Sailor collaboration. And it's the refresh. It is a Pro Gear Slim. And I love the way this nib writes. So this nib is the one that originally came on this pen. And it is a medium fine, so it's slightly bigger than the fine, but it writes like, you know, when you write with a pencil, but you write on that one side of the pencil that has that certain edge to it, that it just writes really nice and kind of feedbacky, but smooth, and it has a little bit of noise to it. That's what this fountain pen writes like. So the ink I have is my Sailor Mono Sumir, and this is in the medium fine. So this is perfect. I did not plan it this way, but you can kind of see how the extra fine, medium fine write or look on paper right next to each other. And even when I was filling in the colors, it didn't take me as long to fill in this square as long as it did with this one or this one. So just to give you an idea. Okay. Now let's move on to the next pen. So it's the Pilot Pereira, and I talked about this in a recent video. This is just like, it just reminds me of my early fountain pen days and how much I enjoyed writing with the Pilot Pereira. It's just so comfortable. It's easy because it's just a slip cap, and it's Pilot, and so they are pretty reliable with their nibs. So I don't have any hard starts. It sounds really loud, but it's actually quite smooth. It's not scratchy. I guess I'm just pressing a little bit hard and everything. One of the things that I don't care about so much is how it has those little beads in the converter, which you know, it just makes a lot of noise. So I have to, and that's just like when you're moving it around. But once when you start writing with it, it is, you don't hear it at all. So this is the Pilot Pereira. And I got mine in a fine. My ink is Robert Oster Soft Kitty, Warm Kitty. And this is a fine. So the fine, I feel like, can be a little bit finer than this Sailor Pro Gear Slim fine. This is a steel nib, and it's not a 14 karat gold, so it the 14 karat golds can give a little bit more when you're writing and make your lines a little bit fatter, just because it's like the tines are opening up a little bit more when you're writing. Okay, so this is one that I've had inked up for a long time, and I've been wanting to clean it out, and I just haven't had time. But after this video, it's going definitely to be cleaned. And this is my Twisby Mini. And again, I am just obsessed with the fines, the thin lines, all that. Look how juicy that is. It's really juicy, and it's probably hard to tell what the color is. It is a green. And this is in the mint color, this teal. And I think there's not many sellers. I think Twisby might still sell this pen, but if you want this colorway, which is just like the teal here and then the teal in the back. And my ink is Diamine. Delamere green. And this nib, oh my gosh, it's so smooth. And you can tell it's a lot wider. This is actually in the fine. So it's thicker than all the other fines you see on this page. I possibly could write like a half-page entry of some sort with this pen, but this one really needs to be cleaned out and on to the next. And that green is just, it looks like a Christmas green. Okay, so a newly inked pen is this one. This one is a Laban pen, and it's so fancy. It has a little bit of a weight to it. It's definitely heavier than all the pens I've just shared with you. And I would say that the most of the weight is in the cap. So this was a pen that I used often a while back, especially when I first got it. I used it a lot because I loved how thick the line was for being a fine. And actually, as I was researching the name for this, because when I bought this, I was told that it was just the black with the white marble, but it's actually called Cambridge. And I am using the ink. I'm giving it another try. It's actually looking really pretty. When I first was writing with it, it looked a little weird, but now after the ink has kind of settled, I feel like the ink color is really pretty. And this is the Yoseka Ceramics Song Black. And then I'm writing with the fine. And it's about the same. It's on the same level as a TWSBI fine. And I don't post this, although it can be posted, but it's just really back weighted. It has a really good weight in the middle section. It kind of bubbles out, and I can just feel it as I'm holding it, how it has a good weight on the barrel of the pen as well. Okay, so that is mainly it for the first pouch, and let me share with you all the pens in there. And then you can kind of get to see how they look side by side. This is not working very well, but the biggest, of course, is my Laban, and the smallest is the Sailor Mini. The heaviest is, of course, the Laban. Pilot, Pereira, and TWSBI Mini are almost the same size. They're almost the same size. And the Sailors are not very far off. And that even goes with the Sailor Pro Gears. These are all slims. Even the Mini is a slim, but the Pro Gears are roughly the same size. They're just girthier. So that just kind of gives you an idea that pretty much a TWSBI Mini, Pilot Pereira, Sailor Pro Gear are roughly the same size. Okay, so now we're going to get into this pouch. So this is the Pelican M200, and it's quite a small pen. Let's see, how does it measure up to a Sailor? It's really not that far off from a Sailor, slightly bigger. So kind of gives you a little rough estimate. So this is a piston filler pen, and it is the M200 because it has the gold accents. Anything that has like a 5 at the end, like a 205 or a 405 or a 605, are the ones that have the silver accents. So this was, I want to say it was a special edition, but I could be wrong. At the time when I got mine, it actually was like a package deal with the Pelican brown ink. So I'm not quite sure if they do this all the time, or, you know, they come out with like the pen and a matching ink to go with it. I know right now the current pen and matching ink is that Golden Barrel pen, and it would look similar to this in size. So this is Pelican M200 brown barrel. It's comfortable, but the I would say the grip section is a little bit more narrow than a Sailor, and therefore it could be uncomfortable for some people at this size. Now the ink I have is an ink that I'm not very excited with, but it is the Robert Oster Muddy Brown. Not the prettiest color to me. I like more of the cool tone browns. I seem to like a lot of cool tone things, and this brown is more on the warm side and not my cup of tea. So this pen is a fine. Who would have guessed? Okay, so next up is the Mayfair pen, which I've talked about a couple times already, and I'm almost done with the ink in here. But what I did do, because I was getting frustrated with the nib, is I changed it out. So it initially takes a Yovo number size 6 nib, which is a similar size that a Franklin Christoph takes. So I just changed the nib, and I am actually a lot happier with the pen altogether, like the whole package. So I still have the same ink in here, and you can kind of see how it writes a little bit differently. So this is Mayfair pens, and this model is the Naraya with the opal, and the opal is referring to this cap. And my ink is Troublemaker Moomin Stormwind, or not Stormwind, Moon. The body is called Stormwind. So I think that's why I'll just put that at the top. Okay, so this nib is a medium, but it's a SIG medium, which stands for stub italic grind. Again, medium. So not too far off from the fines, the thicker fines. And then it has like a sharp edge at the top, so it can be a little sharp if you kind of turn your pens. But it's really nice for like it. I feel like it makes your handwriting really neat, and it just Franklin Christoph nibs are awesome when you get those specialty nibs. Next is this guy. So this is my Moomin, and I've had this thing inked up since forever. The nib that initially came with this pen was trash, and I switched it with a Schmidt nib that came on my, what are those? What's that brand? It was the sparkly brand that has all the different type of shapes and sparkles and glitter. Gosh, hopefully it'll come to me. But this one, this nib actually writes really nice. And I don't have many Schmidt nibs, and from the reviews I've seen from those that do buy the brand that has the Schmidt nibs, I always hear good things. So it makes me want to get another one of those pens just to get the nib. I'm sure that there's a place to buy Schmidt nibs, but yeah. So again, this one is my Moomin. And it's actually an M2. They have so many different kinds. I got this from Amazon. And they call it like a large ink capacity. Just do it like that. And then the ink I have is Organics Studio. Walden Pond Blue. And this is in a medium nib. Super thick. And this ink has amazing sheen. The barrel, I don't know if it's just with this ink, but when I had a different ink in here, it was sloshing around. You could see it. But the barrel in this one with this ink is just, it's everywhere. And there's no, it just sticks to the side. So it doesn't, you can't see it pull away from the edges. But I've had hard starts with this just because the ink is really thick and it has that sheen. And I think that that's the reason why the barrel, you don't see it sloshing around. It's just all over. But let me see if I could show you the sheen. There you go. So it's green with this red sheen. It's really pretty. And yes, moving on. Okay, couple more. We have my Mont Blanc. And this really, really bright, pretty teal. So I changed it out from the brown because I felt like it just looked dull. And now it makes me happy. Or writing with this ink makes me happier. This is the 145 model. And my ink is Herba Blue Calanque. And you can see how wet this nib writes. And, oh, I forgot to write. This is a medium. It writes a little bit thicker than the medium from my Moomin. Okay, so last but not least is my Opus 88. And we've talked about this in the last video. This is the Jazz model. I really like that white, the blue against the white. And this has the cutouts for a flex nib. Now, what I've noticed since I got this one is that the nib is quite loud. And that's while you're writing with it. So even if you're making the slightest pressure when you're creating your up and down strokes, you hear this metal. So beware. If you're going slow, you don't hear it as much. It's mainly when you're writing really quickly. And the ink is interesting because I had a little amount of tea time. This is the Robert Oster tea time, just a drop, and then mix with my Roher and Cleaner Blue Mar. So that's why, oh, I spelled it wrong again. Okay, so that's why you may see the blue here in the barrel, and it's coming out this teal color, but I didn't realize that there was some residue of the tea time, and so it mixed up, but when it's coming out of the nib, it comes out in this like more green teal than teal. So yeah, so this one is the extra fine flex. And I've tried to write with it to where I don't need to use the flex, but I still hear that weird noise with the nib that I will, I choose to only like flex with it for the most part. So I only grab it if I know I want to use it as a flex pen. Otherwise, I won't grab it. So that is pretty much it for all the inks I have inked up, or all the pens I have inked up. Here is a look at the pens I just shared. So the Opus 88, the Mont Blanc, the Moomin, and my Pelican, and then the Mayfair pens. And then here's just a look at some of the others. All right, well, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to like this video. And if you want to see more, make sure you are subscribed. And I want to thank you for joining me and spending part of your day with me. And I will catch you in the next video.